Hey everybody, did you know that police officers were once referred to as peacekeepers, but now are referred to as law enforcement officers? Police brutality is a very serious issue rising in the United States. Many of us may have never encountered a situation where police brutality has been a problem, but we all have either heard or seen of people who have. I believe having the knowledge and understanding of the situations could help overcome the issues and allegations of police brutality. So today I'm going to talk about what police brutality is, some research on law enforcement and racial conflict, and some groups that are causing more harm than good when it comes to police brutality. So first I'm going to start with what police brutality is. Police brutality is the wanton use of excessive force, usually physical but also verbal attacks and intimidation by a police officer. For an example, it would be unreasonable for a police officer to shoot a jaywalker. That is showing signs of extreme excessive force. Police brutality is a very serious issue and is investigated by the district attorneys. Fear is a common factor in police brutality. For instance, if an officer is frightened, it can set them in a panic state of mind, which could lead to the use of excessive force. Also, no trust between the public and the police officers aid in the fear factor. Now that I've told you about police brutality, I'm going to talk a little about law enforcement, some research on law enforcement officers and racial conflict. Allegations of the use of excessive force are still generating the headlines for over 2 decades. In 2010, there were around 4,861 reports of misconduct, and 23.8% of that was the use of excessive force. The incident that paved the road for police misconduct was the Rodney King incident. With this incident, it only made racial conflict worse in the United States due to an all-white jury. Riots broke out, people were killed, around 2,100 people were injured, and 7,000 fires occurred during this incident. The Rodney King incident will go down in history as the biggest example of misconduct, police misconduct, but it will not end or prevent police brutality. So now I have explained some research on some research on law enforcement and racial conflict. I'm going to now talk about some of the groups that are causing the issue in situations of police brutality to become worse. There are many groups preventing us from helping end police brutality. People from both sides are always heavy to weigh in on allegations between a police officer and the other person involved, whether it being racism or professional activists. Both are causing the problem to not be able to be resolved. You may not want to admit it, but racism and prejudice are still very much an issue in the United States. And you have the professional activists that always want to insert themselves in a situation. And in the latest news story when it comes to police brutality, which only rises their public visibility, which that brings me to the media. There's nothing more that the media loves than to get a raging debate going. It's a surefire way to get ratings, and the media will always present a story the way the audience wants to hear it instead of stating the facts. So today I've talked with you about what police brutality is, some research on law enforcement officers and racial conflict, and some groups that are causing the issue of police brutality to be worse. I went over fear being a factor, and hate and fear in the public and the police being a factor in police brutality, and different groups causing the ongoing debate between the police and the public. In order to be able to refer to our police as peacekeepers again, we as a nationwide community have to come together to resolve the issues. When the public and the police don't want to come together and both contribute their roles in following the law on both sides, then the war of racism, cop haters, and police brutality will never end. Thank you.